Welcome to Avanzar Social Justice Podcast, Chat for Change. My name is Sabrina Nicholson, and I'm here with our Director of Social Justice, Deborah Hamani. And I also have two guests here today. I have Shameeka Cottman and I have Nathan Evans Jr. Shameeka, would you like to start with telling us about yourself?
Yes. My name is Shameeka Harvey. A lot of people know me as Dior. I'm from Atlantic City, 33 years of age, mother and wife. I'm the CEO of Display House of Dior, and I'm a consultant at Cottman Works. I'm consulting with my husband, which I'm very proud of. In addition to that, I am a community leader. I don't like to say politician. I'm a leader in every aspect of the word. I've started a podcast called Seek No Approval Podcast, which is very near and dear to my heart because it allows me the space to help advocate for those who can't advocate for themselves and reminding young people my age to charge to the atmosphere that you are the new ancestor. You're fully equipped with everything that you need, so you don't have to seek validation from anybody. Just go out and be where your feet are. So just a little about me. I am a Jackie of all trades. I do a lot. However, the most thing that means a lot to me, again, is giving back to my community. As of late, I am a member of the New Jersey Domestic Violence Coalition of Communities of Color, which it's amazing to be a part of such an amazing organization who understands the needs of the community and the importance of representation. And that's something that I plan on, being very, very hands-on with because, again, it's needed in our community. It's needed all around the world. And just to be a voice, again, of advocacy, as well as one last thing I just added to my resume. I didn't see this coming, but, again, bridging the gap between community and resort allowed me to accept the position with the Atlantic City Gambits as the inactivities coordinator. So I'm just looking forward to, continuing to be boots on the ground with our community and the generation behind us and letting them know what their options are.
Congratulations. Right. Thank you for everything that you do, and thank you for being here today.
Right.
Nathan?
I'm here with Superstar. That's dope. That's incredible, actually. But yeah, my name is Nate Evans Jr. I create experiences for apprehensive individuals to feel worthy when they're waging a war in their mind. I think it's really important to understand why I do what I do and not just what I do, because I do a lot of different things. I'm a husband, best-selling author, professional speaker, podcast host, mental health advocate, and just someone who is looking to lead, inspire, encourage, and bring resources back to his community and add value. A lot of the work that I do is based around bringing mentorship and bringing resources to teens and young adults. A lot of the resources that I believe that I really needed coming up is what I'm looking to create and pour out into the world. So that's really the heart of what I do. Again, that's why I think it's really important of why I do, because it's going to be several different things that I do, but the mission always remains the same. That's to add value to those individuals who don't feel worthy enough to receive that value and let them know how important they are, how valued they are, and allow them to blossom from that.
That's right. That's really, you can take that inventory of yourself, this is what I lack, so let me make it happen for others.
Right.
So today, we are here talking about Black love and healthy relationships. So we're just going to have a good time talking and sharing some knowledge. First, Black love movies. What is your favorite Black love movie?
Well, my favorite Black love movie would be Claudine. Claudine came out, I believe, in the early 70s, and it was with James Earl Ray. I can't remember the young lady's name, but she was a single mother raising about 7 to 8 children on welfare. Mm-hmm. And the love story part of it is basically James Earl Ray comes in and is the father figure. He's, attracted to this young lady who's a fox in their eyes, but when he comes into her house, they're hiding a toaster from the welfare people that comes to the house, and it just shows you what we had to go through then opposed to what we have to go through now. And that Black love still looks the same, it's just a little different in the area of time.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's good. Before we started recording, I said the wood.
The wood, yeah.
Wood is fire. But alright, so I had two. I'm gonna hit y'all with obviously loving basketball. I'm a basketball player, been all my life an athlete, so that was always a story that like spoke to me. I thought that's how my life was gonna pan out, to be completely honest. But you know, God had different plans. But another movie, and I know we're talking about like Black Love, but I see this movie as like Black Love is The Pursuit of Happiness.
Oh, yes.
And it's not necessarily in the romantic sense, but it's like no father does the things he did if he didn't love and want to see his child to grow and succeed and to have more than what he had. So he went through strenuous situations, and every time I watch that movie, which is, you know, maybe a few times a year, I just think about the different scenarios he went through and how he continued to how he remained resilient and all. So there was one part when he was in the bathroom with his son, kind of like holding the door, you know, and he was kind of like playing this imaginary game with him to do this, and we're going to hide in here and all these different things. And that's love to like, you know, he's exposed to what's happening, but at the same time, he's covering him by telling him to explore his imagination. And he's getting up every day and doing everything he has to do, go above and beyond to get in a position to really inspire his son. And there was even one part in the movie where he was telling his son, like, don't let anybody tell you who you can't be. Not even me. Like, to me, that's love in a whole another level. Like I said, it's not the romantic kind of love, but he displayed love through all of his actions.
Right. I love it. Love it. That's right.
Forgot about that movie. That was awesome.
I know. I didn't know about it.
Well, so that's one that I watch often, like often because just the storyline, but I leave inspired, you know, by somebody who really wanted to make a change, not in his own life, but also his son's life.
Right.
And he, you know, I believe his lady left him and different things when he didn't have the resources anymore. I'm like, man, that's crazy. And he went through hell or high water to get to another level and really create a life for his son. And as you know, the real story goes off and makes millions and all these amazing things. But none of that happens if he doesn't go through that strenuous part of it all. It wasn't beautiful.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm not the one to remember movies. I don't know why. Like, I say them all, but I don't ever remember. Like, so I don't ever have a reference point. I love Love and Basketball, though. Love Basketball.
I was about to say, come on, you gotta have a favorite.
I don't know, because if I see one tomorrow, I might think that's my favorite. I'm forgetting. So, yes. So, Black Love movies. They're unique to us. Like, how do you feel they're telling our story?
Again, back to what I said earlier, it's back to representation. It's not, well, let's say even prior to our generation, you know, we have our parents' generation. A lot of them didn't know how to communicate effectively, let alone communicate effectively with their offsprings. So not completely their fault because, again, it's a different time and day and age. So having shows such as The Cosby's, Living Single for young, you know, women in business and lawyers, Different World for college. Those were shows that I watched growing up that I'm not Saved by the Bell too much, but those were the shows that I watched because I wanted to emulate those in my own respect. Most of our parents didn't even have the opportunity to go to college or to prepare for it or understood what financial literacy was then. So that's one of the things, again, that I urge, you know, the initiatives that I do in the community is to not reinvent the wheel, but to go back to those things of meaning and substance and try and get like a Black BET or something in this area where we show the younger generations what representation is, because for me, it was those shows. They taught us messages. They left us with something to think about beyond what we were seeing, whether it was comedy or etc., or just a bigger message that we pose back to our families.
Right. And it left us with a feeling. You know, I think about when Uncle Phil passed away. I was hurt. I was hurt. Oh my gosh! And I was watching the new, I guess the remake or the dramatized new Bel Air, and so I ain't gonna spoil it. But it's really good, and it speaks to issues of today. It speaks in a language that we all understand. But there's a quick reference to, you know, Uncle Phil, the J. Cole song. And it was just like, man, Uncle Phil was like a father to so many people from the television. You know what I mean? That's how powerful it was, where it's like you respected him and he was like your father figure if you didn't have that in your household or that kind of representation. So those messages and those stories were powerful, and how we told it through the, you know, the form of art and through acting and things like that was extremely powerful for a lot of us.
Yeah. And I think you didn't see it in real life, you saw it, at least you saw it on the TV.
I think that's the advantage that, because I speak from an older generation, and I think that's the advantage that you guys had that we didn't, because we didn't have those images growing up. You know, everything was still, we were not as highly represented in television and media as it was for your day and time. So it's not that we didn't love, the expression of it was never modeled for us.
Right.
So we couldn't model it for you, you know. And so TV came and did what we couldn't do. So expression of love for us, for the most part, is dad stayed. You know, dad spoke values because dad stayed, you know, or mom stayed, or mom took care of dad, you know, the best way she knew how. But when television came along and it gave you images and a model, then you were able to pick that up. And that's what I really appreciate about this young generation, is that they pick up the torch and they go with it, you know. They don't wait for permission. You know what I'm saying? They give themselves permission. And I so admire that about this young generation, because you guys have opportunities that we didn't have. And it's not an indictment against my generation. It's just that you were privileged with some things that we didn't. And you didn't take the privilege for granted, so to speak. You know, it's like, well, we have this. You know, it was modeled before us, like using the scenario that Nate used with the pursuit of happiness, you know. And there's a lot of young fathers, you know, that are out there that are like that stay, you know. And so you guys have those images where we didn't growing up. We didn't have that growing up.
I think it's important too to recognize that, acknowledge it, and have grace, but also have respect and admiration, because without that prior generation, it's like we wouldn't be in the position we are today. You know, it's a lot where it's like, oh, well, you did this to me, and this happened, and that. And it's like, I get it, but you also got to think that at some point your parents were also teenagers too, and they had their own, you know, set of traumas and issues, and same stuff you're going through, they had to go through. So it's like the cycle had to be broken somewhere. And I believe in just having that grace.
Each other. You pick that person that you are willing to learn with, grow with, and build with, most importantly. And I think that's why a lot of our relationships may look different, because we choose the wrong soulmates or the wrong people to intertwine with. And I learned, I'm a person that learned the hard way a few times, so I'm glad I got this right, because I'm not going to be married. I'm not divorcing.
You're in this.
Yeah, so I'm all in.
Can I say something? Just not the reverse, but I'm thinking about when we talk about the Black love movies.
Okay.
I'm like, man, it's amazing, because when you watch those movies, there's so much adversity until they actually get together. Sometimes they get together, they break up, it's years apart, like it's all types of stuff that happens, and that's really what love and marriage and relationship looks like. It's like, yeah, we signing up for war. You know what I mean? It's like the enemy don't like union, we're signing up for war, we're gonna do this together. And that's what it really is. So I believe, like, till death do us part. It's like, yo, we're gonna fight in this thing together. And as soon as, you know, you decide that you're serious about this, you want to get together, it's like, yo, be aware. You're gonna need each other. And y'all both need to show up. And I was just, as you were talking, I'm like, man, that's so true. You know, sometimes we do a bad job of like depicting what love is. Obviously, you know, everybody got the pictures up and relationship goals. People put that a lot under, like when I put pictures of me and my wife or videos, like relationship goals, like, you know, you don't want this problem. You don't really want this problem. Like, yeah, you sure you want, like, they look nice. You sure you want what comes with this? And it's obviously a beautiful side and everything, but it's it's work. It's, you know, it's really work.
So the motivation to stay together, is that all that internal will, or do you have external things that go into play too? Like, do you have a mentorship, like another couple that you go to? Like, what else is there? Or is it all internal?
Well, definitely faith-based. I don't believe in speaking about my spouse, or speaking of my spouse to any peers. I keep everything between me and God. Right? So that goes back with communicating effectively. because my issues with my spouse, if I have an issue. It's not really an issue. It's more so like, okay, babe, let's have this conversation. And it's like, what now, babe? Or what's going on? But to be honest with you, like I said, I don't speak to anyone outside of that. And I think that's what keeps it alive. Because when you add too many people into your union, you're going to have discord. So setting perfect boundaries in your relationship. I mean, I know some people go and talk to their mom, or they go talk to their grandparents, or they go talk to that. I just observe from the outside and the things that I saw them do or what worked for them. I don't apply it to my life. I just like Nate say, I take takeaways away from it. Like I take takeaways from a lot of the relationships that I saw that were successful, even in our community. You know, I'm glad to see a lot of young Black excellence, and to know that majority of them are married. Even going down to our mayor and his wife, you know, they're young and they're ambitious and they're married. Even to our previous mayor, that was Black, he's married. Our leaders, they're married. Just to know that the representation is there, because growing up, I'm from Back Maryland. You know, my family was the only family that was married. You know, all my friends either had single moms, where moms were working 2 or 3 jobs, and the community had to come together to make sure that, you know, hey, you want to come to this trip with us, or you want to go out of town with us, or things of such of that nature. So I knew the importance of having a mother and a father in the household and what that looked like. But it wasn't always peaches and cream, and I just know that it's just, again, like going back to hard work. Whatever you put in is what you're going to get out. You put nothing into it, just like planting a seed. If you don't water that seed, it will not bloom.
Facts. Yeah, I'm just, like, it's just beautiful to hear about just the longevity in marriage, because we didn't necessarily, in my family, didn't have that.
Okay.
So there was obviously separation. There was all types of stuff going on, but, you know, at the age I am now, being 32, it's like I do gain wisdom from other married couples around me. So we did go through counseling. But like you said, everything else that's like our issues, we handle between us and God.
Right.
Now, we do have a very tight, and we're blessed to have a beautiful friend circle.
Okay.
So we have a really tight-knit friend circle, and the beautiful thing is about that is everybody's around that age range of like 30 to 40. Everybody's married.
Oh, wow.
So even in my wedding, all 4 of my best men are all married.
Oh, wow.
Now that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we're actually all around the same age. All 4 of them are married. It's funny because I was engaged first, and then they all got married before me. But yeah, so I even sit with them sometimes. I just listen. I don't come with my problems or issues, but I listen. You know, what's working, what's this.
Right.
I believe that you can really learn from anyone, and I don't want to act like because, you know, me and my wife have been in a longer relationship than them, that I can't learn from them.
Right.
So I try to soak up wisdom everywhere I can, and like whatever I can apply, I'll apply that. But anything else we handle on our own. Our parents are like, we're not getting in anything, even if y'all brought it to us. And that's a blessing, because sometimes, you know, you get the messy family members who want to be in there and want to be in your business, and it's like her mom, my mom, my dad, her dad, they like, look, whatever's going on with y'all, as long as everybody's safe,
Right.
That's good.
we ain't got nothing to do with that. And that has allowed us to really mature and grow, because again, like I said, we were, you know, high school sweethearts up until this point of, you know, you're going on 11, 12 years. It's like we had to learn to be mature enough to talk and listen to each other without interrupting each other, and not doing this and not storming out. And that allowed us to both grow personally and together as a unit.
Awesome.
I'm on
Years to
board.
come. She should be very happy. Miss Evans, congrats.
Hey, look, they said it, man. Yeah, it's a blessing. It's a blessing.
So name some relationship issues that you feel are unique to our people.
Emotional abuse, verbal abuse. Again, I grew up in a urban environment, and when I'm looking at my childhood now, just reflected in my head right now, there were some neighbors who, you know, maybe Mr. John Doe, Mr. John Doe came home drunk one night. and him and Miss Pearl or Miss John Doe got into it, and that became a normal thing. You know, where people just thought that that was normal in their family. I saw where they would reciprocate what was shown in front of them.
Yeah.
So just knowing that, that I came from a family, I was blessed on my mother and father's, on my mother's side to have so many examples. But on my father's side of the family, my grandfather actually left my grandmother in 6 bedrooms with 11 kids, 2 sets of twins. So to see how it affected my father and his siblings, and how it affected my mother growing up in the same household with her mother and father, it was it was a tale of 2 cities. To know that my grandmother, she was struggling, where my older aunt, Sandy Harvey, and these are stories that I've told all the time as reassurance that no matter what, keep going. No matter what your adversity is, keep going. And love, do everything in love.
Right.
Like, I love the fact that no matter what happened to them in the 6 bedrooms, and if you are familiar with Atlantic City, that little small area housed maybe 8 to 10 of Atlantic City's largest families.
Right.
There were the Langfords, there were the Harveys, there were the Hamiltons, there were the Jones, there were the Washingtons, the Spellmans, all in one lot.
Right.
The majority of them had just a single mom with multiple kids over 6. So just those examples right there were stories of resilience to keep going again, as I was stating, and love.
Wow. Yeah, when I think about that, I don't know if this is unique to us, but definitely being in environments where there's physical abuse on top of the emotional, and also just infidelity. It's like a really normalized kind of thing. It was kind of bred into the culture of like this, almost like a don't snitch, kind of like don't look this way. If you see me out here, you didn't see me out here, kind of thing. And it was like almost a code amongst guys. Again, I'm not gonna say it's unique to us. But it was normalized where I was at, and that's what I seen in it. What it did was it created a distorted kind of toxic picture of what a woman was and how to treat a woman, which was crazy because it's like you kill somebody for your mom, but it's like you won't respect the young lady that's on the corner either. But yeah, those were the main things that I noticed coming up, and it kind of affected my vision of what I seen.
So now let me ask the question: how do you think? And this is for the younger generation, you guys. How do you think the struggles we have as African Americans impact your relationships? And I'm talking like oppression, discrimination, racism. Like, how do you think that impacts your relationships?
Yeah.
It puts a lot of stress on the relationship, to be completely honest and transparent, because as a black man, I can't imagine what it is to be a black man, but I know what it is to be a black woman, right? So to know that my husband or my child or goes out the house and could, possibly be killed in a traffic stop, gives you great anxiety. Then society puts these criteria on our black men and our black women that we should be doing this. We should be doing this at this level. We should be doing that at that level as women. And to be honest with you, they are all falsehoods. No matter when you start, no matter how you start, just finish and finish strong. And I say that, and I'm sorry to go off topic a little bit, but I say that because again, society will have you thinking that you're inadequate or incompetent when you're fully equipped to do and be whatever you want to be. And that's where the stress part comes in, because it seems sometimes it's a battle between how you feel and what you want to do and what is in front of you, because everybody's day-to-day doesn't look the same. The sun is not shining on both sides of the streets for everybody. There are people now standing in food lines who've never stood in food lines before.
Right.
Due to a whole pandemic. Prior to the pandemic, nobody's making real money. No one can afford a house. Nobody can, you got dreams, you got aspirations, but you can't have champagne dreams with bare pockets.
Wow. Yeah, and when I think about that, I just think about the resilience that we have to continue to develop as couples. Like you were saying, there is this aspect. And I remember talking to my wife about this, and she was really like distraught. This is probably around, I want to say right after George Floyd, somewhere kind of around, maybe a few months after, but it was the anxiety. Every day I would leave the house like, dang, is he going to come home later? And it's like, that's something no one should have to go through, but that happens to be our reality.
Right.
For various reasons, but we're also still expected to act normally.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So those are the main, the main things, but with faith in God and continuing to be resilient, I believe we can push through, and my hope is that we get to some point where it's like we don't need to heal anymore. Right? We can just thrive in our marriages, our relationships, and our families. Because when our family unit's together, there's nothing that can stop us.
Right.
You know what I mean? We create and we grow and we love on other people as well. But our family units are, constantly attacked, starting with the fathers and then just beating down the family from there.
Can I just say something really quick?
Oh, go ahead.
Marriage has taught me to be vulnerable.
Right.
Because growing up, and even as a young adult, you said something that just made me think of it. It's just as being strong. We're always a strong black woman, or we're always telling our boys, suck it up, you're a man. But again, I don't feel like that's doing a lot of justice to now our generation that are now raising children, because we now have the opportunity to now change that narrative and say, let's communicate our feelings. Let me know what's going on. Tell me how you feel. How did that affect you? Now we have to have earlier conversations with our children in love and say, I know that, this George Floyd, like I had a conversation with my 11-year-old son in 5th grade and to explain to him what that was all about. Or that if he's in a car, because he still has an innocent mind, he sees sees things differently, that you have to pay attention to your surroundings. Having a spouse and a husband that is as supportive as him, we're a blended family. We have one child together, but I have 2 children, other children. And to have him in a space where, and explain to him from a man's standpoint, and giving him that black culture or that black father talk, it feels like it's going through one ear and out the other. Because he doesn't understand. He's too young, in my opinion, to even comprehend what's going on. But now it's just like, we have to now sit down and have these conversations with our kids and normalize having these normal conversations and be vulnerable and explain how it made us feel when we went through different experiences. Because we have some experiences that happen in our families that we don't talk about. Or we just sweep underneath the rug. But that's not tough love. And
I think vulnerability opens up the doorway for him, especially in marriages. If you're able to kind of be naked and not ashamed, and then open up, and it gives you the opportunity. This is my truth. This is my truth. I'm afraid to say it but yet I trust you. So if I can trust you, then I can be vulnerable with you, and that opens up the door for healing, at least in relationships, in a couple's relationship. So I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100% there.
And that's real strength, vulnerability. I learned that the hard way. It's like you say, you grow up in a way where you can't show your emotions, you can't express them, so you bottle everything in. But at some point, it has to come out. And usually it comes out through violence, through all different type of avenues that aren't healthy or supportive of you. So I'm a big just believer in being vulnerable and transparent and being open about those things. There's definitely healing in that. And then at the same time, really addressing the issues that need to be addressed up front. I was talking to some students earlier, and I'm like, what are the negative thoughts that you keep in your mind, the things that are plaguing you, that are bothering you, what do you do with them? And it's like, they'll just kind of stay there. I'm like, okay, so my wife comes in, she's like, hey, can you sweep this? I sweep it under the rug or under the couch. Did I really remove it from the house? It's like, no, I just moved it around. That's all I did. It's still there. It's still there. I'm acting like it's not, but it's still there. And it's not until we actually get it up, move it, remove it, dump it in the trash, and put it out that it's actually gone. And that takes, for us being transparent and vulnerable with each other and kind of showing like, hey, this is me. And hopefully you will do the same, and from there we have each other's back.
And having conversations about things that you're not having conversations about.
Right.
It's like talking about what's not being talked about,
That's right.
And a lot of times you go through the day and you develop a routine, and so you have superficial conversations. Not that it's bad, I'm just saying it's superficial conversations. It's like getting in your car and driving to work. You just know how to get there.
Right.
You're not conscious, you're not intentional. It's just, this is the routine. And so in a marriage, especially if we're talking about longevity, it is about having conversations about things that you're not having conversations about.
Right.
So when my husband comes home and his mood, because y'all are young, so I don't know if y'all there yet, but
I don't know. I say, wait.
But when he comes home, there's a closeness that something's, he didn't say anything. He comes in, doing the same thing he's been doing, but you pick up in his spirit something's not right,
Right.
So it's being able to, how do I address it? Okay, because I know him, I give him a minute.
Right.
I might not go in right now, and I give him a minute. Or I might wait until, I can feel the energy. Maybe this might be one of those things I need to let him bring to me eventually,
Right.
So it's being able, but I don't let it go. So if 2 days go by and I still feel that, then I need to initiate.
Right.
Because we need to have conversations about what we're not talking about. Because if we let it fester, then that's going to turn into something else. Or I'm going to internalize it like, okay, what did I do?
Right.
What's wrong with me? And then we're fighting with each other. We don't even know why we're fighting.
Right.
And it's because we're not talking about what needs to be talked about.
And communication is everything.
Yeah.
Because when you make assumptions, it can tear things apart. Like you were saying, it's like you come in with a certain mood. It's like you know that person well enough to where it's like, all right, something's off.
Right.
Right.
I don't feel like talking about it. Okay, let me give you a little space.
Right.
Let me revisit this conversation. But when you take offense off the rip, kind of like, oh, maybe it's me. It's like, no, it has nothing. Maybe he was, demoralized at work by a superior.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And he's just kind of trying to process that thing. And I think the best thing that we can do at times is just hold space for our partner.
Right.
To kind of feel what's going on.
Excellent.
And then when they're in a better position, let's talk.
Yeah,
You
excellent.
just gave me a tip. Thank you. Thank you. No, seriously. Because sometimes, like what Steph said, I'll give my husband some space when I know when he had a hard day. And working in the environment that he works in, he works at Family Dollar and he's his own boss. But the stories that he has told me, just to do his job, unload the truck in the Renaissance Plaza. Actually, they were shut down last week. The code violation for health. And he's telling me about how there are people with mental health issues out there. Or people that are addicted and they're doing different things and they're defecating on themselves and things. And he has to clean this area prior to even doing his shift. So, coming home sometimes, and he did 10 hours a day, he don't really have the energy to, come in and speak to me, especially when a job really doesn't really have it for you. They'll post your obituary before your position before they post your obituary.
Right.
So I have to learn sometimes to not always be, oh, babe, come on, tell me what's going on, because I just want to make sure that I'm communicating and effective with him. But at times I see now, just by even saying that, I learned something about myself. Like, okay, thank you for the tip.
And you have control over your atmosphere in your home.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You have control over your atmosphere. You can make your atmosphere in your home peaceful for your husband and your children. Or we as women can make it where I'm gonna go out before I go home. The tension in the home is just not, like it's supposed to be. I know when my children were little, no, we don't do no screaming and hollering in the house, because I'm trying to set the right tone. I'm trying to set the right atmosphere in the home, because we're faced with so much, and us as black women and our mates as black men, we're faced with so many different obstacles. So when I go out, I'm going out in a world that's hostile against me. I don't need to come home to a house that's hostile against me.
Right.
Right.
That's so good. And I think about it, my wife works for, she works at John Brooks, so she's a counselor, addictions recovery. So her job is extremely strenuous. And I remember early on, I would allow my insecurities to kind of weigh on her. So she would come in, like you said, long day. I'm all energetic and hey, let's go do it. And she just nah. I'm just and I would take it as offense until I really sat down and listened and started to learn my partner. I think that's something that you constantly do. I was telling people, they were like, did you get some new feelings when you got married? I was like, I don't know if I got new feelings, but it did make me want to learn her more than I already know her. And just kind of continue to study and learn her every day and how to best support her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
One of my favorite professors in grad school said that's how she made her marriage work. She said, I'll make my marriage work because when my husband comes home, I give him a little bit of space.
Right.
And then we talk.
Correct.
So, y'all are teaching me some stuff.
Yeah, it's about two people never giving up on each other. Whatever work you put in is what you get out. That's the result. If you expect anything different,
Right. And I also, just one last thing on that. Affirmation is like everything.
right.
Affirmation and like validation. Because we rarely get it from wherever we are, wherever we're operating or working.
Right.
Even though we're excelling, we're doing the best, we're dominating, it's like it comes, far and in between. So at home, I want to make sure that I'm cheering you on and letting you know, like, are you had a rough day? You know what, you're doing great work. You're doing amazing things, and I want to continue to affirm you in that space. And I think that that's a huge step in the right direction when we add that to our relationships and stop looking to just take.
Right.
Okay, great.
Right. Like that.
So wrap it up. Do you have any general advice for those who are struggling in a relationship or those that want to be in a relationship? Any just general advice? Any coping strategies?
Run. No, I'm joking.
Don't run.
Don't run.
Well, to be honest with you, if you found that person and you can't stop thinking about that person, and this is if you're not in a relationship, but going towards marriage, do the work. We all heard about the 80-20 in your business, and don't talk to your girlfriend. This is to the ladies. Don't talk to your girlfriends about your spouse, at all. They're called intimate thoughts and intimate feelings and intimate relationships for a reason. And that's pretty much all that I have.
That's the downfall in like every movie too. It's like somebody. Right. I'm not a big advice giver. I can only tell what's been true and what's worked for me, and that is choosing each other every day, one day at a time. And that just goes back to being intentional and being present. It doesn't make it easy.
Right.
It's definitely challenging at times, but every day you get the opportunity to breathe and be alive and see these individuals. Like, choose them every day. They may get on your nerves a little bit today, you know what I'm saying? But choose them, even in those situations, and stay committed. And I believe you'll have longevity. That's what I'm believing for myself.
Right.
There's no such thing as the perfect mate, but there is a such thing as the perfect mate for me.
Right.
And I think that's what we need to understand. There's the perfect mate for me.
Yeah. I like
Cool,
that.
right?
Still there with that.
That's the bar, right?
Yeah. That's what my status will be.
Well,
I choose the right mate.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. I am so proud of our young people today. I know I've said this before, and I'll say it again and again and again. I just love your tenacity. I just love your seek no approval attitude. I'm not waiting for permission. I'm just going to be me, and I really admire that about this younger generation. So kudos. Hats off to you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
Well, thank you for coming on today. Now to wrap it up, we have Shameeka Cottman, we have Nathan Evans Jr., and Deborah Hamani. Please tune in to next month's podcast, Avanzar Social Justice Podcast, Chat for Change, in which we will have our change team on, and we will talk about our social justice initiatives and everything that the change team is doing.
Chat for change.